Shalom, shalom, real motivation. Terrence McKinney back with a brand new video. Before I start the video, I want to give all praises to the Most High. Today is part 2 of the mini-series I told you I was going to bring. Who is the blame for our current state? Part 2, the government. And before I start digging into it, I just want to say we as a people, y'all, we done got so highly dependent on the government that it's a shame. We depended on the government who never had our best interests in the first place, and now we literally, as a whole, and I'm not just saying like individual pockets of people who don't use the government as anything. I'm saying as a whole, we as a whole have been so dependent on the government that it's done caused our self-destruction. And the first thing I want to talk about is government assistance. We got the government dealing so much in our lives on a day-to-day basis that it's done got terrible. Like, we some of us live off government assistance from our birth to our death. And it ain't nobody out there who got the same skin color as me can say that they family ain't never had no parts of no government assistance, or they don't got somebody in their family that's on government assistance. But the thing about it is, it's crippling us, y'all. It's crippling us as the people, and that's one of the reasons why we can't raise up and ever, be successful, because we so stuck on the government that we ain't putting our minds together to overcome the situation. Let's get into it. All right, number one, like government assistance, welfare, SSI, and food stamps. Like, okay, y'all, I can understand when you going through a rough patch, and I grew up like a couple of times, and my parents always worked hard, but it was a couple of times of rough patches, when something happened in our family, and one of them lost a job that we was on welfare for a couple of months. But y'all, like, if you got to use government assistance and you got to get on welfare, it can't be a long-term thing, y'all. It's just got to be to get you out of that rut, man, because what's done happened today is we done got so content with being on welfare, we find different ways and different scenarios to stay on welfare our whole life. We get content with that little lump sum of money every month, to where now that's all we got to look forward to is every first of the month or every 15th of the month or whatever that government assistance is. And that right there, that limits you as a people. That limits your income. That limits what you can do. That limits where you can stay at, what you can buy. That limit how much savings you got in your savings account. And we done got dependent on this as people, man. Like, I know it's people in my family, and not even outside of my family. I know people that's done been healthy, that had a good sound of mind, and is capable of working, but they done been on welfare so long, and they been getting that government check that it never even pop in their mind that they can be making 2 and 3 times that amount of money that they get with that government check by going to work and providing for themselves. And like, we done got dependent as a people on that government assistance of that monthly 1 month check, and we budget our whole life around just to make that one check stretch out the whole month. And 9 times out of 10, it never happened like that. So when it get towards the end of the month, like, we struggling real hard, and we waiting on that first of the month to come, and it's the same cycle over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And we find ways and loopholes to stay on that, like, well, and it's done become a crutch, y'all, because there's no way we can build a nation, or not even build a nation. And I'm not saying nothing about building a nation, because we inside of a nation, so that'll never happen. But there's no way we can build ourselves or build our communities or better our own selves if we stuck on welfare and we waiting for a check once a month. And that's the same thing with SSI, man, because I know people, I grew up my whole life where all I did was see people faking the system, and having people go down to the Social Security building and play like they got mental illnesses so they can get another check, and trying to scam the system so they ain't got to get out there and work. Now, if you got something stopping you from working, and you can't, provide for yourself and something like that, and you done had an accident, or you got a serious mental illness, then you need to go down there and get some type of income for yourself if you can't provide. But But I done literally seen in our community where we got sane, healthy people go down there and play crazy and fake injuries and everything else just so we can get that one check. But when you in that type of mind state, you will never be able to do nothing. And that ain't setting a good example for your kids. That ain't set a good example for nobody to see you in that community. And then other people seeing you do that, and it just they want to do the same thing. And then I done seen it growing up my whole life. Like, you know, I know people who never had a job, like ever in their life, and they perfectly able to go to work just like me and you. And then the crazy part about that is 9 times out of 10 those same people who thinking they scamming the system, you know, for tens and 15s of years, they when it comes down to it, later on in life, they really need that because they done run that on themselves, not getting out, not being physical, just laying around every single day when they healthy, and then their body starting to deteriorate. So waiting on a once a month check, y'all, it ain't gonna never get us out of there. It ain't gonna never better shoot us up there with the rest of the races that you see in America. That's why we stay on the bottom, because we think with a low mind state. And that's the same thing with the food stamps. You know, it's literally people out there, you know, who look at food stamps as a part of their income, and people out there who take pride in having kids because the more kids they have, the more the government's shooting the money. You know, they don't care about having kids, but guess what? Because that's extra income to them. Now they got 7, 8, 9 kids, and now they getting $2,000, $2,500 in food stamps, and what they doing with that money is they gonna go spend $800, you know, and fill their refrigerator up, and then they gonna sell the rest. Like, you know what I'm saying? But that's crippling us as a people, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because we got all this government program just giving us money, paying for our food and everything else. So that put us in the mentality to where we not thinking about getting up and providing. We not thinking about getting up, you know, setting that example for those 6 or 7 kids that's in our house, that's watching our every step and everything we do. Like, when the government constantly giving you something and they constantly assisting it, and they making your life easier, you know, and this ain't for everybody, because some of us got that mindset, but we want to build on what we got, and we want to set up generational wealth, and we want to, you know, be the example in our family, but some of us don't. And the government make it so easy sometimes that some of us is content with sitting back, kicking our legs up, and just waiting on them checks to hit every month, and waiting for them stamps to hit that card every month. And because we see it as income, and we running around thinking we living better than the people who actually going to work and provide. What else on government assistance? You know, WIC. Let me just talk about WIC, man. That's another thing. Like, you have a baby, you know what I'm saying? They give you all this, you know, this WIC thing to go buy, you know, all this Similac and all this other stuff, you know, to feed your baby. But the thing about it is, y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know what's in that Similac, y'all. You know, we don't know what they really feeding us. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just being honest, and I ain't being a conspiracy theorist and nothing like that. Like, you know, when a woman pregnant, like, you know what I'm saying, her body goes through something to where she producing milk. As long as she eating and living and doing, being healthy, then her body will produce that milk. Man, when my sons was born, man, like, I was strict on, man, breastfeed my kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know everybody can't go through that route, but I remember I was growing up, my mama was telling me that I was breastfed, y'all. We don't know what's in this Similac, y'all. And I'm just being honest with you. Just think about the recall that happened a couple of months ago. Who did that affect? That only affected the kids in our community. You ain't see nobody from the other races running around going crazy because it wasn't no Similac. It was only in our community that was affected, because that's the only thing you can get with that WIC card is that Similac. You ain't see no white people talking about the Similac. You ain't see no Chinese people talking about the Similac. You ain't see no African people talking about the Similac. You only seen us as the people running around talking about the Similac. And so, just because they giving us something, y'all, that don't mean it's good for us. Section 8, they say, look, man, like, we gonna help you out. Like, you know, if you can work, but we only want you to work a certain amount of hours. You can work, but we don't want you to work. We only want you to make a certain amount, and then we gonna give you this big house, you know, where the rent is gonna be slashed for you almost into nothing, and we gonna take care of it. But the only thing is, you can't have a man in your house, and you know, if you can't have nobody, you know, with a felony in your house. And the thing about it is, y'all, is set up to break families apart. They telling that woman like, look, we gonna set you up good. But the only thing is, when we come and inspect that house, we better not find you got no type of man standing here or no other type of income in there. So we gonna take care of you, and we gonna take care of your kids. And in our community, a lot of us do go down the wrong trail, and sometimes we do get felonies. I used to have felonies, and I got them expunged, and I'm gonna get on to that one next. But the thing about it is, if you got Section 8, then you can't even have no mail to that address, and you can't even be a father to your kids. You literally got it like they making you choose. Like, yeah, we'll take care of this, and we'll let you go to work, and we'll let you make a little bit of money, but you still ain't gonna never get nowhere. You still ain't gonna never get over that hump, and you ain't gonna never be able to, you know, provide for your family on your own, because you content with this big house you staying in, and the government paying for 70% of the rent and everything else, y'all. So we gotta understand, like, anytime the government giving us something, it ain't for our own benefits. What else? Medicare, y'all. That's government funded healthcare. I know a lot of y'all like, what's wrong with Medicare? We need to go to the doctor. The thing about it is, man, when we working, it's a different type of insurance, y'all. Like when you on Medicare, and the same with that little dental thing they got and everything else, it's a different type of services you get, man. When you go to the hospital, it's a different type of treatment you get. When you go into the doctors, it's a different type of doctor you get when you got a real life insurance. When you got real life insurance, you know, some of the places I go, they won't even accept Medicaid or Medicaid or nothing like that from the state funding. They really want to see that Blue Cross, that, you know, that I can't think of the other ones, but they really want to see those real deal health cares that, like, so when they go in there, they're going to take care of you. You going to different doctors. You ain't going to a doctor who's just going to treat you just like you an animal or something. Like, and as soon as you come in, they all getting the same diagnosis. He doing this, he doing that. All right, give him this pill. That'll calm him down. He doing this, he doing that. Give him that, and this pill, you know, help him out, help him focus, and everything else. That's what happens when you get Medicare, y'all. Y'all got to understand this, man. Like, when you on Medicare and you on a government-funded health care, yeah, you going to the doctor, but you ain't getting the best health care. And you ain't getting the best advice, you know what I'm saying, for your own care, the care of your children's or your care. All they gonna do is, y'all, give you a prescription, give you a pill. They not gonna run no real tests on you. They not gonna really diagnose the problem. They gonna, like, tell me, you going to the doctor when you got Medicare, the doctor gonna go off everything you say, and then he gonna subscribe you some type of medication, and he gonna send you out to the door. And what that medication gonna do 9 times out of 10, it's gonna make you unhealthy. It's gonna give you all type of side effects and symptoms that you might not see until 10 to 15 years from now. And it's gonna be the same effect on that little kid that they saying, you know, that's hyperactive, or he got high blood pressure, or he got, you know, it's gonna be some type of side effect to come out years later, y'all. So Medicare, even though you might think it's good health care, it's not the same as when you got a job and they taking out that, you know, every time you get paid, they taking out that small percentage, and you going to the doctor, and the doctor's doing preventative stuff on you. They paying you, you know what I'm saying? Like when I go to get a physical every year, the doctor pay me. Like, I literally get a $150, $200 check, you know, every year it go up $50 to make sure that I'm healthy. And they running all tests on me to make sure I'm healthy. They calling me saying, I haven't been in the doctors. I need this 6 months to a year physical and exam and everything else. And they monitoring stuff that I never had a thought of when I was on Medicare. It's a different world, man. And it's a different type of doctor that you're going to see. Low income housing, man. Like, and that's a major one for us, y'all. The government say, yeah, we're gonna group you into these low income housing. But what happens is, when you in these low income housing, yeah, the rent ain't that much, but guess what? You stand in a crappy neighborhood, and everything that's surrounding you gonna be crappy. You know, you're gonna be dealing with a lot of drugs in your community. You know, you're gonna be dealing with a lot of gangs in your community, and you're gonna be dealing with a lot of people on low vibrations who gonna stop your growth and stop your family's growth, and it's just gonna keep you on the same level as everybody else. And they put us all in this. They put us all in these low community houses. Who do you see in low community houses? You only see us. And low community houses is ghettos and projects and everything else. That's where they put us, y'all. We don't see nobody but us. We might see a couple of other races. You know what I'm saying? Just the anomalies that's in the neighborhood who just like us, who look just got a different skin color, but 90% of the people in these low income houses, y'all, look just like me and you when we look in the mirror. You can't think of no white projects or no Chinese projects or no African projects. The only thing you can do is look in the mirror and see us in the projects. And them low income houses, y'all, that's not where we need to be staying. The school systems around them are gonna be garbage. Even when the grocery stores around them are gonna be garbage, man. Cause I don't stay in the best neighborhood still to this day, but it's not like I don't stay in the projects and nothing like that. But the thing about it is, when I want to go to the grocery store, man, I travel. I go to where, I hate to be blunt, but where I go to where the white people go grocery shopping at, because the food quality is totally different. The stuff that they offer in the fruits and vegetables is totally different. Like, to where if I was to go in my own neighborhood, when I go into my own neighborhood, like, it's half of the stuff that I see when I go into other different communities' neighborhood, and it's crazy. But you don't think about that until you expand, until you get out, until you pay attention to the stuff. And so this low income housing, yeah, it might be something we can afford, and it might be something where they going off our paycheck, and yeah, we ain't making a lot, so we were content with that, and we content with staying in this neighborhood. And that's the same thing as hood, y'all. But that's what I'm talking about right now. But it's not necessarily good for us, y'all. Like, it's not where we need to be. It's not where we should be content when we get into these projects and everything else. When we get in there and we see the conditions of the neighborhood, and we see the conditions of the surroundings, and we see the conditions, the schools, we got to pay attention to all that. The roads, we got to pay attention to that. And we got to be thinking, how are we going to elevate ourselves out of this situation? How are we going to better ourselves for us? Not only for us, for our families and our kids. So, to put our whole family into a better position. But we get stuck and we get content. So we got to understand, y'all, the government assistance is assistance that we shouldn't want and we shouldn't need. Like, I ain't going to say we shouldn't need it, because, certain times we might do need it. But we should be always working to get rid of that government assistance, y'all. Like, because we as a people, we depend on the government more than anybody. And we depend on the government for every single thing. What's going to happen to that one day where the government make you choose something against your beliefs to keep that government systems? What if it was like, when the COVID was going on, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the government came to you and told you, like, look, if you want to get this vaccine, if you don't get this vaccine, we're going to stop all government funding. What would you have did? How would you have responded to that? Like, and that's something to think about, because when you're defending on the government, at the end of the day, it's going to be a choice, it's going to be a time where you're going to have to make a choice, and that choice could be something that you regret for the rest of your life. And there ain't even nothing about the vaccine, but I'm just giving you a scenario. What would you have did? Like, and there's a lot of people in our community who didn't get the vaccine, but if you had to make that choice to keep that government funding, or, or to lose it, most of y'all would have did it, because y'all wouldn't have had no type of other thing to fall back on. So you got to understand that. Number 2, the laws, y'all. And I ain't got nothing against laws, because I think we need them in order to run some type of civilization, or some type of to keep everything at bay. And I ain't one of them people who gonna ever get up here and say defund the police or no bull crap like that, because at the end of the day, you need the police. Because if you ain't have no police, it'd literally be like we was in the westerns or somewhere. It'd literally be you wouldn't even want to leave your house. So that ain't what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the laws, how the laws, and how we are, how when we do something and somebody else do something, we get stroked way harder than that. And the laws, it seems like it's set up to break us down, and we getting hit with the gavel a lot harder than other people in the same races. We do the same crimes, but we ain't doing the same time. And that's what I'm saying. The judicial system, when it comes to the laws, is set up to keep us behind, y'all. You know, I had a felony for over 20 years. You know, I finally got my felony expunged last year. Like, and that was, my second or third time trying to get it expunged. And finally, you know what I'm saying, they changed the laws around. And I was able to get that felony expunged. And my felony was for possession of weed. I had a felony on my record for 20 years for possession of weed, man. And you just don't know how much that felony hindered me and stopped me and everything else. But the crazy part, where I remember being in prison, you know, and I got caught with like a couple pounds of weed, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't saying that it ain't nothing, because at the end of the day, I did what I had to. I did something, and I had to pay the consequences of it. But the thing about it, man, when I was in jail, I got the same amount of time as a white boy from California who got caught with 200 pounds of weed. You know, he got caught with the weed in Cincinnati. Not only was he bringing the weed from state to state, but he got caught with 200 pounds of weed. And I got caught with like 2 or 3 pounds of weed. Like, and we got literally the same amount of time. Like, that is crazy. And it's like that all the time. Like, you know, wherever you go, like if you do something and I do something and your skin color different than mine, I'm gonna get stroked the same amount. I'm gonna get stroked worse than what you got stroked. And I remember realizing, I was talking to him, I couldn't believe it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when he was telling me what he did, and we wasn't in PC or nothing, so he didn't tell nobody or nothing like that. Literally, he got the same amount of time I did, and he got caught with 100 times more weed than I did. That's literally 100 times. 100 times 2 is 200. 200 pounds of weed, you know, and I got caught with 2 pounds of weed. So, and it's like that all the time, y'all. And when we get that felony on our record, man, it's hard. You know, it's hard to go get a job. It's hard to get housed. It's hard to do anything. And most of us, we try. Some of us don't try. But some of us do try when we get out of jail. We try to do something different. And guess what? Like, we keep getting knocked in the head. We keep getting shut down. Like, every time we go get a job, or every time we try to apply for a job, and they're running background check, they tell us we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do this. And it's like we wind up going somewhere where they don't check for background checks, but guess what? We ain't making no money. And most of us get frustrated. And we tap out. And we go back to the streets. And next thing you know, we got 2 and 3, 4, or 5 felonies, and we get caught up in a cycle, and we never can recover from. And we seem like the penalties when we break the law is way harder than any other race when they break the law. And like, I'm not saying that I'm ever saying that it's okay for anybody to break the law, but we all make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And so we all got to learn from our mistakes. It just seems like we punished way harder for the mistakes that we make by anybody when it comes to this government. The government make the example out of us, and yet when somebody else go do that, they get a slap on the wrist. They get probation, or they find a way to where it's not a felony, it's a misdemeanor or something like that. It's not staining them as it's staining us, and that's the pure reality of it. And so we got to understand, when we out there, we moving around and everything else, like, yeah, you gonna get stroked if you get caught doing that, and that got to be in the forefront of our minds, because I see it every single day. And that's why that's why I wrote the book that I wrote, Don't Let That Felony Stop You, try to get motivation in people, because I understand that, like, when we break the law, we're going to get punished a lot worse than anybody else. And number 3, on the government, you know what I'm saying, political parties, y'all. We got to understand, man, like, when it comes to Democrat and Republican, it's just a different side of a coin. It's still a quarter. On a quarter, you got heads and tails. But guess what? It's still a quarter. And guess what? Both of them is just political parties. And neither one of them got your best interest, y'all. I'm just going to keep it real. Quit letting, and to my people, we got to quit. And I'm going to say what I said, man. We got to quit believing all these Democrats and these people saying that they're going to do this for you and they're going to do that for you. I don't prescribe myself to any political party. I ain't a Republican, I ain't a Democrat. But what you see in our community is we just vote Democrat, vote Democrat, vote Democrat because we think that's the party that's gonna help us. But these Democrats, they get into office and they don't do nothing for y'all. You know what I'm saying? They charge y'all up and think they all for the black vote. You see them all in the black church. You see them, you know, when something happens to some black person and they talking and doing this, but they ain't doing nothing for y'all, man. All they doing is getting y'all votes, and they giving y'all a lot of stuff like this up here to keep you into a low vibration, man. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta quit believing just because you black, you gotta vote Democrat. Like, or, and I hate using the term black because we ain't black, we brown. I mean, just because you look like me, that don't mean you just gotta give your vote over to somebody just because you think that's the party for you. But in reality, it ain't the party for you. I'd rather you not vote at all before you just vote for a Democrat just to vote because you think you're a Democrat, but you can't even give yourself 5 reasons why you think you're a Democrat. And you want to hate all Republicans just because you think they against you. Like, it can't go like that, man. It's time for us to better our thinking, man, and understand the topics more and understand the issues that's be going on. We just can't just vote one way just because our whole family done voted one way. Like I said, I'd rather you not vote. I haven't voted in 8 years, and it's just because at the end of the day, I think what's going to happen. And I understand if I might be the only one, or that might go against what a lot of y'all believe in. But to me, at the end of the day, I don't think our vote matter, to be period. Like, to be totally honest, like, I don't think if I was to vote Republican, if I was to vote Democrat, it's going to make no difference, and it still will have no control over what happens on a day in and day out basis. Because what's going to happen to me is going to happen regardless. But I want y'all to understand is, I want y'all to really, if you're going to choose a political party, really understand the issues. Really do your homework. And you got to understand, man, it was the Republicans who freed the slaves. You know, it was the Republicans, you know, who stopped all those Jim Crow laws. Like, you got to understand how a lot of y'all cherish Abraham Lincoln. He wasn't a Democrat. He was a Republican. And so you got to do your homework, and you got to understand what party was for you for you know, the more length of time than just now. And like, when you think about it, Republican or Democrat, when it comes to these presidents, ain't none of them really did much for you, like, at all. Biden in there right now, he ain't did nothing for you. Trump was in there, you know, before that, and he ain't do nothing for you. And before that, Obama was in there, and he was the same, you know, skin tone as you, and he still ain't do nothing for you. At the end of the day, quit waiting on these people to, you know, believing in these people gonna be y'all, you know, saviors and gonna do this and create miracles and gonna change the world for you. Because that ain't gonna happen. And so at the end of the day, y'all, we gotta quit relying on the government, man. We done became government dependent. Like, and as the people, we ain't gonna never better build ourselves and climb up out of that hole if we depend on the government for everything. And we believe that the government, you know, is gonna work miracles for us. And like I said before that I end this verse, I'm not an anti-government person, but I'm just speaking to my people, and I'm letting y'all know that we depend on the government way too much, and there ain't no way we're gonna be able to better ourselves if we keep relying and depending on the government that we do. And so I want y'all to like, share, shalom.